As per a email that I received just, I think an hour or two ago, somebody asked for me to address this particular topic. And I think what we're going to focus on really is how to deal with or dealing with fears and traumas. And some people actually think, well, I don't really have any fears. That's not true. So you have to look a little deeper. And some people think, I don't have any traumas. That you shouldn't have to look too deep, because life on earth is a trauma. Just leaving the higher dimensions and coming into the earth plane is traumatic. That's why most children, try to avoid it as they're coming through babies, why labor is laborious instead of just a co-creation, easy manifestation. Some of this I'm being a little bit humorous about, but some of it's true. I mean, really, babies do not just, wow, it's time, and then move on through. Typically, there are women who've gone in for days into labor or numerous hours into labor. So it is laborious, and laborious means that it involves effort, and effort is traumatic because effort means that something's not just completely a flow. And so, just be careful not to underestimate this. And the truth is, my definition of trauma, because some people go, well, compared to other people, I don't have much trauma. Don't compare it, first of all. Not on this side or that side. Not if you're the one with the worst trauma or the least, quote unquote, worst trauma. Neither should be, doing any comparisons. Mine is worse than yours. Yours is worse than mine. None of that should exist. Bottom line, my definition is that trauma is anything that lacks the presence of God. Anything that lacks love's presence. So that means that when you're using drugs to hide from something, you're traumatizing yourself. When you cause harm to another person out of selfishness, fear, hurt, hate, whatever, it's traumatic for them. If it lacks God's presence, and that really sets the tone right there, because some people will say, trauma is only if there is some sort of physical violence or physical activity. No, you can have trauma inside your own assumptions of life. I can assume someone doesn't like me and that they make me feel small, and that's traumatic. And they're not even saying a word, all in my own head. I can have head-oriented traumas, not to be confused with physical head trauma. There are, physical head-oriented, there are head-oriented traumas. There are physical traumas, obviously, energetic traumas. When just, whether it's the evil eye or whether it's, energies, hates from people can become an energy. You can have energetic traumas just because something has shaken your energy systems, your aura, your chakras, your meridians, and having an ill effect on them. So there are people that say, well, there's no such thing as trauma because we can really just learn from everything. Because you're wonderful and smart enough to learn from something doesn't mean it was a wonderful thing. Okay? Just because you had the wherewithal to say, okay, wow, this was really out there, man, but what can I learn from this? Doesn't mean the thing is good. Doesn't mean it's good meaning God. The word good it comes from the word God, and vice versa, you could say. Because that which is good is God and God is good, meaning all things that are good, meaning healthy, loving, expansive, creative, truly creative, joyous, peaceful, life-giving, so to speak. These are all good and they all reflect God. So when something is constrictive, confusing, hurtful, aggressive, controlling, fear-based, hate-based, and so on, we don't have to sit around and say, oh no, it's all good. That's one of the ignorant lines in spirituality. People walk around saying it's all good, bumper stickers, it's all good. And 99 point something percent of the people saying it have no clue what they're saying. They mean well, but they're trying to say, it's all good because there's always good that can come from this. That's kind of like just a there, pat on the head. That doesn't mean they know what they're saying. If you ever really say it's all good, the only way you can say that and actually say it accurately, spiritually accurately, would be that you understand that everything in the universe is an illusion and ultimately is just a dream happening within the minds of God's children who are still in heaven, sort of tucked away in bed, you know. They're still safely tucked away in heaven, and they're simply having a dream of a universe where there's pain and all kinds of stuff going on, limitation, whatever. And when you know it's an illusion, then you can say it's all good, meaning underneath it all, there's only God. It's all good does not mean horrible things are okay or that they're good by any standard of good, least of all the spiritual standard of good. All right? So just keep that in mind. That's just sort of a little footnote of sorts. But dealing with fears and traumas, remember that I think it's mainly in my Healing the Heart and Soul book, which we're going to have an online course on at some time in the next few months. But in there, I think it is that I explain that healing, generally speaking, there are two types, a feminine type and a masculine type, and each has its place, perfectly has its place. Sometimes the feminine is the one that we should always try first. The feminine is the one that when someone's hurt, you hold them. That's the mother in us, the divine mother in us, that is. I don't mean gender and mom. I mean the divine mother comes through us and tells us, reach out and hold them, and then we do. And the mother, the feminine, the divine feminine and spiritual feminine in us says, when someone's crying, hand them a tissue, take their hand. It's comforting. It's, I'm sorry that happened, honey. Are you okay? It's all these really beautiful gestures that a lot of people who think they're healers or think that there's healing systems on this planet that's very clinical, analytical, but it doesn't have any comfort to it at all, then it doesn't have the feminine healing, which needs to be done first in most cases. So what I mean by that is that when someone's hurting, analyzing it right now isn't going to help them. Psychobabble isn't going to help them. Detaching from them and saying, well, it's just an illusion, get over it, isn't going to help them. The first thing we should always consider, I'm not saying it's 100% of the time, but 90-something% of the time it is right to basically drop into the feminine parts of us so that we can say, are you okay? Not suck it up, get over it. It's, are you okay? That has to be first. Even if the child comes in with a scraped knee, oh, honey, the hand on the child, the hand on the wound. Oh, I got you. All those comforting thoughts, gestures, and so on. That's the feminine. That's the beauty, the mother half of healing. The masculine portion, I don't want to say have and have you take it literally as ratios, but the masculine portion of healing really comes in when somebody is saying, I'm really hurt. Somebody broke my heart. Oh, gosh, really, what happened? Oh, well, they did this and that. Just like the mom saying, honey, what happened at school? We go, what happened? Oh, well, they did this and they told me love forever. And oh, honey, I'm so sorry. And what else happened? And how you feeling? And when did you find out? And how you feeling? What do you plan on doing with this? And so on. Just kind of soothing and comforting and dialoguing, right? Now, that person comes to you a month later and says, oh, I'm still feeling hopeless, total despair. That person left and I just have no reason to live. And then 6 months later, the same thing. 3 years later, same thing. Oh, I just can't live. I can't live. I can't live. Or whatever it was that they're, we have to call it for a moment, obsessing on, because they're repeating it. You see, the feminine is supposed to catch you when you fall. Here we are, the vessel. Catch you. Craniosacral kind of holding of the skull. The massaging of the body, the Reiki, the prayer, the beautiful hand gestures, literally and figuratively, holding that presence to say, how can I help? Arms open, how can I help? See? Take your hand, how can I help? All those are beautiful. But sometimes people are saying, I'm hurt and I really need something. See, they're sincerely reaching out. That's when your hands can catch them, work with them. Be comforting to them. But some people, they don't do that. What they do is, I'm really hurting, but rather than, and I'm committed to healing, can you help me in any way? What they do is, I'm really hurting. And they don't reach out. They then draw back again because it becomes, and I'm not wanting to get over this. They might not say that, but you got to watch. How do you know someone doesn't want to heal? Well, there's a few ways to tell, but one of the most consistent is they keep repeating the same thing, almost verbatim. That's when it's really obvious. And I know we all have done that in our lives. In fact, let me just cop to that. As a teacher, I share stories and examples of my life. I can't come up with new ones and make stuff up. So naturally, I'm going to repeat a story here and there because there are only so many experiences I have in this and that area, personal, and I mix them into talks I'm doing about whatever. So whether it's telling you about, let's say, a coat that I've only owned so many coats, so you're going to still hear about the green one I've owned, a few times, or the black one I've owned, or whatever. And that's not what we're talking about. Sometimes people will repeat it. You have to be patient. They'll repeat it, and they'll repeat it a few times. What we're looking for is there the same anger? Can you believe what he did to me? And that's the same anger they had 5 years ago? Then it starts to become suspicious. Or they're repeating these things. You can just tell that you've talked to them. They acted as though, oh my gosh, this is so helpful. And yet a day later, they're right back in it again. What that basically is this. It's called control, for starters. It's a mixture of fear, control, and some other things. But what it is in part is someone's hurt me, and I'm not going to let them off the hook. See, if I'm just hurt, then I really mostly still do want to heal. If I'm angry, then I'm kind of flipping it all off with the middle finger. I'm like, screw it all. I'm not getting over this. And they might look like, tears and, I really want to heal. And yet a day later, same exact tears. A day later, same exact thing, you see? We have a policy because, as some of you know, I serve as part of the spiritual leadership at Unity of Sedona, obviously in Sedona. And at our spiritual center, people will come there once in a while and say, I really need help. My vehicle's broken down. I was driving through town. I have no way to get where I'm going. And immediately, let's go to the feminine, the mother. Oh man, sorry to hear that. What happened? Oh, because it is a drag. It's kind of terrible for some people, the hurts and experiences they have. So we hold them. We, not literally, but we comfort them and hold them in a sacred space. How can we help? That's good stuff. But there's times we have a policy now where we say, if somebody comes to us and says, I have a problem, we say, well, we have a procedure to help you. And you can tell almost immediately this attitude like, I don't want any procedure. I want money. I want money to fix my car. I want money to pay my rent or whatever it is that they're coming to us for. We have a policy. And this isn't going to put it at risk by telling you this. In fact, it might turn some people off from even trying with us because we have a policy. And the policy is we will talk about helping you. But what we're going to do, primarily two things to keep it short here. One, we want you to be willing to allow our chaplains to do some prayer with you to help bring you to another place. Some of them say, I don't believe in prayer. I don't want prayer, and so forth. Really? Okay. And the second thing we ask people to do is to help them track it, to see why the issue's happening, to look within to see why this trauma, hurt, loss, or whatever is happening. And again, if they say, I'm not interested in your philosophy, I'm not interested in your spirituality, I came to you because you are labeled as a church and I want money. Go somewhere else. We have a very clear policy about it. And some people leave saying, I understand. Some people leave saying, oh, well, you're not very spiritual. And as soon as they do that, we smile inside going, wow, that just confirms we were right. So trying to shame us doesn't help you. It just confirms we were right for not helping you. And that's how you and I need to deal with people in general. Don't just give in just because people whine about something. Instead, ask for Spirit to help you know what to do and when to do it, first of all, and how much to do. But also, you keep your eyes open. This is that Jesus line where he says, be as gentle as doves, that's the feminine, but as wise as serpents, that's the masculine. Meaning, keep your eye out, be aware, be rational, guys, be smart here. Don't just, how can I help, and give in, be a rescuer, an enabler. No, with family members or anybody else, hold your center. So we do that. We hold this center and say, here's some things we would like you to do in return for. Now, the things we're asking them to do are not like, we want you to mow our lawn and trim our trees in exchange for $10. That's not what I mean, although that's okay for people to be of service to us if they want something. I'm saying that most of the things we're asking them to do are actually for their benefit. We're not even getting much out of it, right? And that's how you and I can be. We can say to people, okay, so, your child, they did something and they do it again and again and again. Well, wait a minute. It's time for an apology and amends and clear this, which means you're not going to keep doing it. And if you keep doing it, it means then you're not either sincerely apologizing or you're not sincerely making amends, which means you're not repentant, which means it's not changing, which means I don't want anything to do with it. So when it comes to healing, trauma, and so forth, we need to be for other people a certain thing and have other people be something for us. And that is, first, listen, man. Listen and be present. The hand holding, all the beautiful, comforting, nurturing things of the most divine, objective, spiritual mother. Be the comforter. Isn't that funny how Jesus referred to the Holy Spirit as the comforter? Does that sound like an intensely masculine thing? No. Because the Holy Spirit, and I've said this many times, I don't know of maybe one other person in all my life, of all the things I've heard, read, studied, whatever, have I ever heard of the Holy Spirit of God being referred to as a sort of a feminine energy. And it's not a female, it's not gender, right? But it's a feminine-like energy. It's a comforter, not a butt kicker, So the Holy Spirit is strong, but it's mostly the mother. It's mostly nurturing. So we need to be that presence for other people, but also if you want to heal trauma and fears in your life, not just phobic fears, but fear, the intense gripping fears, the ones that make us worry and doubt. To heal them, one of the things to do, man, is bring them to the mother. Bring them home. Bring them, to the Holy Spirit. I'm paralyzed with this fear, or I'm hurting over this trauma. Give these things up, putting things in the hands of God. But not just in the old way where, okay, God, I'm putting this in your hands, where it's coming from our heads. That's not sincere. From our hearts, and even viscerally from the cells of our being, to be able to say, into your hands I surrender. So remember Jesus? Into your hands I surrender my spirit. Now just do that with everything. Just follow his prayer. Into your hands I surrender which vitamins I should be taking. You show me. And then watch for your signs and synchronicities. Into your hands, I'm asking you, into your hands is which massage therapist I should see. Into your hands, how to raise my children. Into your hands, which job I should accept. Make that a general prayer of every day, for that matter. That doesn't mean you say into your hands and the first time there's a synchronicity, you jump on it. It's you still watch with wise eyes to see what unfolds, but just make sure the heart is surrendering these things. So, to heal fears and traumas, for each other, we have to be that receptive part. But there comes a moment when the stuff is repeating, when you see that you're repeating the same story with the same or even worse anger. If there's even less, you're improving. That's a good sign. But if there's the same or even more anger, hurt, resentment, grinding of your teeth when you talk about it, or whatever symptoms, tense shoulders, it's because sometimes we go, well, I'm going to talk about this old trauma of mine, and it really doesn't bother me anymore. And your shoulders are starting to raise because you're getting tense and you don't realize it, because you can smile when you talk about it. If your stomach's upset thinking about it, your body's showing you, hey man, just in case you missed this, there's a little issue going on. And remember, when you say, God, there's a knot in my stomach about talking to somebody, there's a reason for that. Now, did your stomach literally tie up in a knot, your stomach itself? Well, yeah, it could constrict a little. But what happens is, when you're upset, when you're afraid, and when you're traumatized, the body is your clay, and you're sort of living out onto the clay what you're feeling inside. I've worked with different artists that have come to classes of mine and brought, like in my mastery class, we've had a couple different times. For example, somebody brings clay and they ask people to tune into a certain event in their life and then work the clay, or think about a wonderful event, work the clay. And it's amazing to see what comes out of it, because your eyes might be closed or blindfolded, but you're just working it intuitively. It's your right brain's allowed to kick in and form something that your left brain isn't allowed to go, no, that's not exactly right, and try to shape it and make it all perfect based on measurements, So what's happening is the body's morphing to that, and it does so inside without us even seeing. We have muscles that start tightening and becoming these like chains, the little subtle chains people wear. They go and throw them in a jewelry box, they get them out and they're all like knotted, very difficult to unwind. Well, keep tugging on them and you'll find they don't unwind as well as when you take a bit and kind of shake it and loosen it. That's why body work, certain body work, where you hold the person with a certain consciousness, the muscles will start unwinding just like the chains. And most body work doesn't do that. Most body work doesn't understand it, never even heard of it for that matter. So that's that mother holding, saying, I got you, honey. Let me hold your tension for you. And there's actually techniques where we do that, where somebody's got a certain tense muscle. You work it. It doesn't go away because you're working it, and that's not what they want right now. The muscle instead, you can tell the muscle, what are you doing? Well, I'm tensing. Why? Because I'm afraid. Oh, okay, cool. That makes sense. All right. So you tell the muscle, well, do me a favor. Let me be your tension for you. What? Let me tighten for you. I'll hold you. Here's the muscle and here's your hand. And it says, I'm tight. And you say, okay, well, let me be the tightness and the fear for you. Then the muscle goes, really? So I don't have to? That's right. Now I'll be it for you. Really? Then the muscle starts to go like this because you're doing it for it. And then, of course, the muscle, believe it or not, is going, I'm watching you. Don't betray me. I won't. I'm your tension. I know you want to feel tension, so I'll be it for you. Oh, it's nice to take a little break. Oh, I bet it is. Well, I'm feeling kind of tense too. Do you mind if I have a break just a little bit? Well, sure. And then you start releasing the tension you were holding for the muscle, and the muscle's kind of lulled into a relaxed state. Your hand, figuratively or literally, starts to relax, and just hold the presence. And then at some point, when it feels safe enough to the muscle and the person, you can say, I'm gonna release now. Is that okay? Not yet. Oh, okay. How about now? All right, let's try it. See, because ultimately everything wants to heal, but it's afraid to. So we have to deal with fear partly by holding its presence for it, its beliefs for it for a minute, be it for it, and then you let it let go of it, and then you let go of it, and all of a sudden, whoosh, there's this nice release. That's true for joints, muscles, whatever going on. Even organs can be asked, wow, what's going on in you? I'm afraid. Each organ, like in Chinese medicine, they talk about this, just not in Western medicine. You imagine going to a local hospital and saying, my stomach's feeling some fear and my liver some hesitation. They're going to be like, we need a different wing of the hospital for you, But that's Chinese medicine. When they talk about it, they'll say your liver is feeling sluggish or afraid, or your stomach is feeling nervous, or, they allow that because it's so holistic. And because there's emotions to the organs, and then there's meridians related to the organs. So any part of it could be acting up, and it could be draining other organs and or overstimulating other organs. So they find ways to kind of create an ecosystem of peace when they're really, really great acupuncturists or artists of Chinese medicine, practitioners of Chinese medicine, Asian, a lot of Asian, the Ayurvedic included, Oriental medicine, So that's one way we could talk about just letting go of fear. And that's all the beautiful, the feminine. Now, I was getting to this. There are times when somebody's obsessing and keeping it. And that's where sometimes you have to call the Father. You wait till your father gets home, but in a good way. It's when we say, okay, enough is enough. For example, if I have been struggling with a sickness for weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks and weeks, the mother can say, well, just rest, honey, rest, rest, rest. Okay, fine. At some point, the masculine side of healing says, get up, you're going to the doctor. Oh, no, I'll be fine. No, the masculine has the right and is doing right by saying, get up. Or my back's been out of place for weeks, it hurts. Well, go to a chiropractor, let's go. No, it costs too much. What do you mean? Is it $40 or whatever it is? Let's go. No, it costs too much. Okay, I'll pay for it. Oh, no, because I don't have a car. Okay, I'll pick you up. Oh, no, because, there's a point where you call it, man. You say something, you step up. If you're a counselor, you don't let people bemoan the same issue for years, even though they're paying you for it. I know that's nice for your pocketbook, but say no. Put a plaque on your wall. If you plan on talking about the same stuff for years, you need to see somebody else. Put it on your business card, your website, or whatever. It really allows people to think about it and go, that means if I don't come and see you, it's likely because I actually plan on hanging on to this for years. How many people do you think are going to actually be okay with that? Some will, but not a lot, not the higher percentage. Some are going to go, well, now I sort of feel caught, so I can't let this go on, so I'm going to give this a shot. We have to do more on this planet to move things forward and not enable. So healing fear, just the idea, how do you heal fear? That's like saying, how do you motivate a depressed person? The depression itself is the opposite. It doesn't want to get motivated, but it can be done. But generally speaking, it doesn't want it. When you say, how do you heal fear? Well, the fact that somebody's afraid means they're not planning on any healing anytime soon. So what we have to do is help them feel safe and help them find, you mean there's something besides this tension, this fear, this anxiety? And in the stomach, when you feel that tightening, it's a little bit of the constriction of the stomach itself. But what's really happening is your solar plexus area, including the diaphragm, a thick muscular band, starts to become afraid. That portion of your body becomes afraid. This is where a lot of fear gets held, the solar plexus. And we say, oh, it's upsetting my stomach. It isn't. What's happening is fear has set in and it's affecting this region. And what it does is, in my fear, I'm going to stop breathing. And one of the ways to do that, because I don't want to breathe fully and alive when I'm afraid and startled, so my diaphragm starts to constrict. And when it does, it actually pulls certain organs into my center, into my body. And that's why it feels like there's a lump in my stomach, because organs and muscles and everything are starting to constrict. It's not one thing. Mostly it's the musculature, but even that isn't the real cause. The consciousness. I have become afraid and it's going to go and affect me somewhere. Maybe my pinky finger, but likely not. Likely there are some general areas where we all feel the same kinds of emotions. Fear, control issues, humility issues. There's certain themes that kind of, run into our body. Regret, certain regions for almost everybody. You can't say it is always for everyone, because people are slightly different also. We're very collective and have same kinds of issues. We're also individuals and might embody it somewhere else. So somebody might say, yeah, like you, I have anxiety and it hits my stomach, but it also then immediately gives me pain in the eyes. Somebody else goes, God, I become weak-kneed. Sounds like totally different places, and it is. Generally, they might have some similarities, but they might have some specific areas. Those specific areas that are affected when you're upset, traumatized, or afraid, those specific areas are not by accident. There are the archetypal ones that most of us share, but the ones that are more specific to just say to you are ones that got programmed somewhere along the line. They got programmed, so somebody might say, whenever I did something wrong, one of my parents, and I remember a client with this, one of my parents would stomp on my foot. That's just how they did it. Under the kitchen table, they could reach me. That's how they did it. If we were standing up in the living room, that's how they did it. That was just their thing, wherever that came from. So that means down the road, it could be 50 years later, to this day, I could be going, when I do something wrong, subconsciously, sometimes consciously, but subconsciously, I start to feel an ache in my foot and don't know why. Well, it was programmed there that every time I did something wrong, here it comes. And now it's not happening anymore, but the program's still there. Now, the really strange kind of a thing is that it's not always like the ache just happens, although that's often the case. It means that tomorrow I can trip walking up a curb off a street, trip and sprain my ankle and not even associate it with the fact that yesterday I was feeling like I did something wrong. No relation to the ankle, but it is. I'm remembering my foot getting stomped on. It subconsciously gets held and then acted out by the body, but just in some way that's not always that obvious. So that's it, guys. It's a matter of learning to recognize that we feel fear, that we feel, hurts and regrets and shames, traumas, and there are ways to deal with them. But remember, the feminine way, give yourself a break, man. The feminine way. Get nurturance, get love, get support, be beautiful about it, take care. There are folks that I talk to, today, yesterday, tomorrow, next year, next week. It's all over, the schedule for me that I'm encountering people that talk about just some of the most terrible and horrific things, and they have such a gripping effect. We think that if we're not thinking about it, it's going to be okay. But no, there's all kinds of, challenges. Just a quick example. Somebody brought something up yesterday, and I started looking at, I came across, you might remember the Three Stooges. Well, Curly, who got the name, by the way, because somebody said that he looked girly. So that became, and somebody accidentally heard it as Curly. So it became his nickname. So immediately, the character he's going to play and is most known for is somehow related to actually being teased for looking too girly. All right? Okay, well, so let's pretend he can somehow just handle that. He was actually, I know it sounds strange, you know him as a shaved-headed guy and overweight and complete crazy behaviors, right? And funny and all that. But in reality, he was in good shape at one time, a young man, good looking, actually a very good looking guy, so much so that he just couldn't stop fooling around all the time and went through several marriages because of it. He was actually a good looking guy, and he was a dancer, and really, really his heart's desire was to be a dancer. But his brothers said, you know what? Somebody that was in our troupe, our comedy troupe, left. We really, really need you. And they coaxed him into it. And his brother, Mo, who, although they slap each other around on the set, on the film, they were loving towards each other. And Mo said he really regretted it because he said, we talked him into doing this and he never wanted to do it and he never got over it. What a lot of people don't know is that Curly died in his 40s, first of all, after a few intense strokes. He was having strokes before some people never even heard of the word. He had a few in his 40s and ended up in a mental hospital at the end because the various hospitals that tried to care for him couldn't because he was so far gone. They were considering like a mental case, so they sent him to a mental hospital. Who is it that knows that knows that was his ending and that was his life? He's funny, he's playful, No. In a way, he started dying when he lost his dream. And that again means nobody physically traumatized him or intended to hurt him, to traumatize him emotionally. But he did something that lacks God's presence, which is he forgoes his dream. And he was paid for it, but that just made him drink more. He was, praised for it, people laughing, but all that did is make him feel more shame. He never really got over it. So that's just brought up arbitrarily, and for various reasons it works because it came up today. But think about your own life. Anytime we've bargained away our ideals, our dreams, and so on. A part of us dies right then. It could be your liver dies 10%, and then the next year something happens and your lungs die 10%. It's very unfortunate, very sad. And on that note, please look at the world right now, because death is rampant, not physical, but death is rampant. Look how many people are struggling with the flu. There's people on radios and TVs and, oh, sorry, I was out last week because I had the flu. I've never even heard of this level of flu going around or whatever. Lots of people, half our board members, actually it's probably going to be all our board members by the end of today. It looks like at Unity of Sedona, all the board members really kind of stricken with this flu, and a lot of our chaplains and some of them with severe illnesses. I've never seen the likes of this in my surroundings. I've had a family member pass away recently and all these kinds of things. But you could say these are traumatic events. Trauma is happening when they're not processed properly. Try to stuff it, try to minimize it, try to deny it, and you're actually then adding to your own trauma. So be held, look within, do the right work. Look within and say, what's this about? So many things changing, so many things dying. Your belief in politics should have died, if not a year ago, maybe many years prior to that. Your belief in politics, that should have died a long time ago. If you're still hurt about politics today, that means you actually still think there's a legitimacy to such a thing. Nothing on earth is completely clean, all right? But there are some things that are the least of all clean. Anything that stands to make the most money is potentially, I'm not dissing all incomes, but I'm saying is potentially more infiltrated, so to speak. So politics, medicine, all these kinds of things. So people don't want to sit and hold and unwind muscles for you. They're going to medicate you because you have to pay for the medications. The medications are going to be 1 trillion times more than they're actually worth in terms of producing them. They make a ton of money on them, and that's okay, because what they're going to do is say, you don't have to pay for it. But then they're going to make your insurance pay for it. And if not that, you don't have insurance. So then you're going to be punished to somewhere else. So it's a really twisted world, and all that is traumatic. So don't tell me that you're not traumatized. You live in a traumatic world. And this world is, as Jesus said in A Course in Miracles, worsening at an alarming rate. I'm not saying be afraid. I'm saying be as wise as serpents. Meaning, don't pretend, guys. Don't put your head in the hole like an ostrich. Just instead see it and say, wow, this is not my home. This is not the real world. This is not the one God created, and it's time for me to start living in the world God created. God, how can you be the mother today holding me when I'm crying? How can I be the mother to somebody and hold them? How can I be a listener? How can I be present? How can I hold space for someone today? Just to really do our best to be that for people, and allowing them to be that for us. Even if it's a mechanic taking care of your car, to create, wise as serpents, create one that has integrity, and do your best to suss them up, and check it out and make sure they're good. I don't care if it's a person washing your windows. Are they good? Are they fair and clear and all that? Get the right vibe, and then think of them as somebody that took care of you. Your car broke down, you got it hauled somewhere, $100, whatever, later they fixed it, they did the spark plugs and whatever it is they do, they fix it, now your car's working. Don't just walk away going, God, that was $100, or glad I did that. Thank people. I don't just mean in person, but in your heart. Become grateful, because that's the mother too. She's so grateful, she's so thankful. The Father aspect of us and within us and around us is the one that says, you forgot to say thank you. It's the one that says, hey, get up, enough is enough. It's the one that says, look, you seem to be complaining a lot about this. We're going to stir it up and make something happen to kind of get you to learn the hard way if you're not going to learn the easy way. So the Father's going to kind of be the more, the move, the push you, the triggerer, for lack of better phrases for it for now. But they both have their place, thank God. And you as a healer, you as a parent, it's the Father also that says that's enough. You know, you've missed enough days at school, you're going to school tomorrow. Or that's enough, we need to improve your grades, or that. And I don't mean being an obsessive, mean parent. I'm talking about there's a certain amount of, it's okay, I understand, you're feeling sad. And then there's a get up and go. And without the get up and go, it's time to go, creation would never happen in our lives. We would die at the end of a year and we would never recover. You see what I'm saying? I mean, like literally, a divorce would happen, you'd be sad about it, and you would never get out of it. You would just remain sad or depressed or whatever. It is the Father that says, now, you've been held a while, it's time to get up, honey. Oh, I just can't imagine living if living is without that person. And the Father says, yeah, well, thanks for sharing, get up and go. It's time to move. It's not going to really tolerate a lot of crap. And that's why when you and I sometimes act more of that assertive father aspect, it annoys people. I mean, they'll bitch about it, they'll gossip about you, they'll attack you, they'll whatever, you know, because you're the one that says enough is enough. You know, if you have a family that's got some sort of history of abuse, you know, the mother in us can sometimes become the human type of mother instead of the divine. The human mother will allow enabling. The human mother allows smothering. See, mother, smother. So the human part of us can become unhealthy masculine or unhealthy feminine. So if we stay to the divine one, it'll always lead us in the right direction, one way or the other, the masculine or the feminine. But, you know, it's important for us to know when to apply which one. And one way to do that is always ask, you know, show me what to do, when and how much, and when not to do, of course. That's the beauty of it. So in closing, fear, bring everything to the light. Your inner self, the ego self, though, is going to say, when I say inner, I mean the hidden parts. I don't mean your soul. When inside we think, I'm too afraid to look at it, you're actually now harming yourself. You're abusing yourself. Even though I'm just sad, and you want people to sympathize. I'm just scared, and you want people to sympathize. There's a point where they and or you have to say, enough is enough. Get up. We're going to go for a walk today. Oh, I can't. My legs are just wobbly. Really? I'll help you, but you're going to walk. We're going to go out and get some fresh air. There's a point where you have to do that to yourself and or others. You're not allowed, of course, to force other people, but you are allowed to say, if you don't want to get up and walk, I won't be coming back to visit you. That's the masculine again. Nice job. Oh, you're so mean. You can say, I'm sorry you feel that way, but this is what I'm doing. It's intimidating, and some people won't like you for it, for embodying the divine mother or father. But that's what we have to do. That's what we have to practice. First of all, because it's who we really are, right? We're made in the image of that father, mother. Now we have to step into that image and start living accordingly. And some people are actually not just in our lives for us to push and pull them. They're in our lives to show us our own weaknesses so we can step up to become more of those things. So those people are actually helping us by challenging us to say no a little bit more or yes a little bit more often, appropriately, right? So I pray that this has made sense. Remember, man, put things in the hands of God. Put things just, but from the heart. Put things in the hands of God and know the Divine Mother is not just up in the sky, so to speak. It's also in the hands of a good therapist, possibly a good mechanic, a good person, a friend holding your hand, a mentor, a nurturer, any of those. And the Father is also showing up in all the forms of, hey guys, enough is enough. When we call Michael, that is me, we laugh sometimes, and some people say, God, I love his irreverence. Thank you for appreciating that sometimes, because that means you're actually seeing my intention. Because I don't mean things hurtfully, hatefully, disrespectfully. It's more of a way to kind of blurt out what people are not willing to look at. That's the Father aspect again. So if you look at me, I notice it too sometimes when I'm talking. My tone will change and there'll be a gentleness, and I'll see that and go, wow, that's the Mother coming through, and I can feel it and see it when it's happening. And there's times when I'm like, enough is enough, guys, and I'll make a joke or I'll sound really strong, And some people will go, oh, I don't like that side of him. Well, that's because you have issues with the masculine still. I'm going to dance with either, and God and the father and the mother are having no issue with it. And I'm just the receptacle, and I'm having no issue with it. You don't like it, so why is it bothering you? Some of you will say, oh, he's such a pushover. He's all this weak, gentle stuff, you know. There was this one time I was doing a lecture, and a guy was in the back of the room, and I was talking about how hard it is to deal with hurts and pains, and people are getting kind of teary a little bit. And he looks at me from the back of the room, and he starts making little whiny baby kinds of teasing gestures at me, you know. So, you know, rather than go knock him out, I saw through what he was doing, you know, and it's like, wow. Inside I was like, poor you, you know. You're someone that actually tries to portray yourself to other people as balanced and so beautiful and loving and all these great spiritual things, when in fact you're messed up and you're triggered because there's a gentleness in the room, and you want to because I'm a guy holding that space, and you know it's not going to fly. I can see right through it. So by the same token, there are gals that, oh, we're loving, we're accepting, but yet they really trigger, they get reactive towards masculine stuff. So the world's going to always try to juggle these things and learn the lessons. Remember, the easy way or the hard way. It's the two ways they end up trying to learn. The easy way or the hard way. I'm all for the easy way. I'm all for let's call in the father, the mother in the appropriate times and learn the easy way by getting in the flow and putting in the hands of God to work through us, rather than resisting and fabricating our own, you know, ideas and how to deal with things and so on, right? Minimizing, reacting, defending. That's all just fear still kind of running the show, all right? So again, I pray this has made good sense.